What's up, everyone? Welcome to class 2 of our virtual mobility membership. So in this class, we're going to be covering shoulders. So we're going to go through some shoulder basics, some of my favorite shoulder stretches. Open up that passive range of motion first, just like we do, and then get into some gritty mobility work. And we're going to focus primarily today on internal and external rotation. So external rotation is probably the biggest issue that I see when people are dealing with shoulder mobility issues. And external rotation is our ability to, like, let's say we're out at 90 degrees, is our ability to rotate up and back, getting that shoulder to activate. A lot of times you'll see people who have external rotation issues not be able to stabilize or get their arms all the way overhead, but also a lot of times they get a lot of pain in the front of the shoulder. So we tend to overuse this anterior shoulder tissue or this front shoulder tissue if those external rotators in the back can't fire as well. So with this class, because we're going to be laying on our side and doing a couple different positions, that it's just as nice to have a yoga block here to support our head. If you have to hold your neck up the whole time, holding this position for a little bit longer, get a little more uncomfortable when you're doing it that way. So let's jump into it. So we're going to start today, just like we always do. We're going to go shoulder cars. And with these shoulder cars, you can either be up like this, up tall in like a half kneeling position, or you can sit back on your feet here as well. I'm probably going to go up like this just because I just like the feeling a little bit more. So we're going to start right side first. So remember, with these shoulder cars, ribs stay down. I don't want you extending through your T-spine at all. Squeeze your butt in this position too. So ribs stay down, butt is squeezed, tension everywhere else. Palm up, cross our body, up as far as we can, keeping this elbow nice and straight. When you hit that block, start internally rotating. Arm is staying straight, trap is staying down, rotating through that shoulder all the way around into shoulder extension. I want you at about a 60 to 75% tension through the shoulder through these warm-up cars. Palm is facing our hip at the bottom. Now we're going straight back into shoulder extension. Squeeze all that tissue on the back of the shoulder. Rotate open. Keep that shoulder blade locked down. Rotating open the entire time around this range of motion. Cross that body. All right, we're doing 3 reps each side. Up, palm up. Rotate thumb down and away. Big reach all the way around, keeping that trap out of it. Knuckles down by the hip. Reverse it. Back, open it up. Remember, 60 to 75% tension. If you want it a little bit easier, go 60%. A little bit harder, go 75%. Right now, I'm probably about at 70 to 75% tension. Trying to really maximize that control and that feeling through that shoulder. Ribs stay down, core tight, butt's tight, up. This is definitely 75% tension. Rotating around. Rotate all the way around. Knuckles down by the hip. Right back into it, reverse. Rotate open. Rotate all the way around to the top. Back down. All right. Whew, that's definitely a warm-up. All right. Warming up. Left side. All right, so let's go. Ribs down, butt tight. Palm up, cross that body. All the way around. Rotating from the socket. Remember, trying to lean away, trying to shrug that shoulder as best you can. There, knuckles down by the hip. Reverse, kick it straight back. Rotate open. Pull that shoulder blade down. Keep it down the whole time. Cross. Going rep number 2. Up. Rotating around. Thumb down and away. Big rotation through that shoulder. Rotating down. Then reverse, go straight back. rotate open, rotate up, around, back down to the front. Last rep, up tall. Keep that elbow locked out. Remember, we want the elbow nice and straight, rotating through that shoulder. Keep the trap down, don't lean away. Rotate all the way around. Back, open it up. Back around to the top. Now remember, your shoulder cars don't have to look like my shoulder cars. They can have a little bit less range of motion. You don't have to go as high. You want to stay in those positions that you can minimize how much compensation you have. It doesn't matter if you want to make them look like mine if you're moving everything around. Get this microphone real quick. All right, this is a real class. I got fixing stuff around, you know. All right. So we're going to start with our first stretch position here. So you might be familiar with this if you've had any sort of shoulder issues in the past. We're going to do what's called a sleeper stretch. But just like in the hip classes, we're going to have some pails and rails along with that because I like, after cars, starting with stretching and pails and rails to help expand the space that we're trying to expand. It also helps us to get a little more awareness around that using those isometric engagements while you're stretching that muscle. So I'm going to start actually on my left side. My left side is my surgery side, and it tends to get a little tighter, so I'm going to open that guy up first. You can start really whichever one, but preferably left. All right, so what I want you to do is make sure, so you can feel your shoulder blade on the side right here. I want you to make sure you are laying in a way that this shoulder blade is pinned down with the ground. We have this arm out. I want elbow at shoulder height, or maybe a little bit below. Restart my watch so we know how long we're stretching. All right, so that's where this is coming into play. Notice I'm just going to rest my head on this because I don't want to be holding my neck up. We're going to be holding the stretch for like 2 minutes. So don't try to like tough it out and hold your neck up. You're just going to make your trap hurt or you're going to compensate somewhere. So in this position, I'm now going to think about pulling my wrist towards my waist. So a big mistake I see when people do this is pushing away. I want you to pull in towards your waist. So you're going to pull this in, and notice I'm just kind of letting my right arm pull this shoulder down into a stretch. And we're just going to breathe into the stretch right here. So you should be getting that stretch across this back side of the shoulder. And we're just going to breathe right here. What's going to be crazy is that you're going to really be able to see the space expanding because your nervous system is allowing it to expand when we start getting into the activation of this position. So we want about 1.5 to 2 minute hold. We're going to build that up as we go along, but honestly, I like starting at 2 minutes. Some of the more advanced, intense classes in the future will be stretching for much longer periods of time and in position for much longer periods of time. Just breathing out. Just keep letting that tissue stretch. Keep pushing, putting some pressure on it with that other arm. Give yourself time to just breathe. Connect to that tissue that's wanting to stretch. If you can't breathe while you're holding a stretch, that's part of your problem right there. Breathing is the bridge between our muscles and our nervous system. Keep holding. All right, now what we're going to do is same thing like we did with the hips. We've got pails and rails contractions here. So our first pails contraction is going to be us thinking about activating our shoulder to pull our hand closer to the ground. So if my hand's on top pushing into the stretch, I'm trying to activate to pull off of my hand. But you shouldn't see much movement happen because you're at the end range of your stretch. That's the whole point of this. So at the end range of the stretch, big breath in, activate, start trying to arm wrestle towards the ground. So if I let go, I should be able to hold my arm there. We're going to hold right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Start putting your hand back on. 1, start relaxing the stretch. 0, start pushing down and allow that stretch to increase. You notice pretty drastically how much that stretch has increased since we started. Now we got our rails contraction, so I want you to think about driving that back of that hand into your palm, going the other way. Let's go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that tension. Same thing. Allow yourself to sink a little bit deeper into the stretch. Isn't it pretty crazy how much the space can expand just from that like 2.5 minutes of work? It's pretty wild. I'm always shocked by how much my surgery shoulder can open up after doing this. All right, let's go one more round of those pails and rails. All right, big breath in. Pulling that hand towards the ground. Hold right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand goes back down. Big stretch. Now drive the back of that hand into the top of the hand. Holding right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax that. Just breathe into that stretch for another about 5-10 seconds. Just let it open up. And relax there. Ooh. Should notice some stiffness coming out of that. It's pretty normal. All right, we're going to switch sides. All right, so we're going to switch sides. We've got this right side now. Same thing on your setup. Make sure you're right on top of that shoulder blade. Elbows right about shoulder height. Head nice and comfy on this yoga block or foam roller or pillow. You can really use pretty much anything, just something to support the head. Now, same thing. Pull this shoulder into a good stretch. Remember, pulling that wrist towards your waist. You're not pushing it away. I want you to just find that nice stretch right here. Go about 1.5 minutes on this passive stretch. I say 2-minute hold, but we're holding this for longer than 2 minutes, even with just a 1.5 minute stretch. Our 1.5 minutes is just the passive stretch to allow you to breathe and get used to this feeling. We're actually in this stretch for almost 3 to 3.5, 4 minutes. So just because I say we're passively stretching for 1.5 minutes, it doesn't necessarily mean you're only holding that stretch for 1.5 minutes. This is just that primer passive work. Let those tissues calm down at that end range. Got another about 35 seconds or so. It's pretty common too to notice a pretty big discrepancy from one side to the other, especially if you have history of shoulder issues. But mine are actually feeling pretty even, which is, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, honestly. It's a good thing, I'm just kidding. All right, so now let's get into our pails and rails. All right, big breath in. Activate. Squeeze that tissue to pull towards the ground. Hold right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand goes down. A little more stretch right there. Good. Breathe. Now start driving the back of that hand into your palm. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax that tension. Press down a little bit harder. Get that stretch even more. I love that feeling of just pushing it down after the activation and getting deeper stretches on that. Oh man, it gets intense. All right, rep number 2. Big breath in, start activating that tissue, start pulling it off the top hand. Hold right there, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hand goes back on, pushing into that stretch. Slowly relax the stretch, or slowly relax the tension. Now deeper in that stretch, start pushing the back of your hand into your palm. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax that tension. Give yourself a second to allow that tissue to just go passive, just stretch. Feel that range of motion expand. And relax. There we go. All right. Out of that position, got some space opened up, but we're not done yet. So you could feel that during those sleepers that it was a lot of this like kind of back of the shoulder, kind of outside of the shoulder. But what did I say in the beginning is a lot of people's issue, right? It's like this front of the shoulder, almost like chest, front anterior delt tissue that restricts a lot of people's ability to get either overhead or in that external rotation position. So we're going to go into one of my favorite stretches. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll see I post this a lot for shoulder health. It's called a scorpion stretch. So there's a couple subtle nuances that I want to really dial in with this stretch today. So I'm going to go face this way, but that way you can see what I'm doing here. Hopefully my microphone doesn't get too crazy from laying on my stomach. But what I'm going to do here, I'll go like this, is I'm going to take my right arm or my left arm at 90 degrees. And then I'm going to use my right arm to post up by my chest. And then I'm going to take my right leg and I'm going to kick this leg over top. So a big thing I see people do here is if they're really, really jammed up in the upper back and shoulder, they tend to overdo it with the leg and then they start feeling their lower back. I'm okay if you limit how much movement you have in the leg and you're pushing more off this hand to find that stretch. So if your legs are here and you're pushing and you're getting a good stretch in that front of the shoulder and chest tissue, I'm perfectly fine with that right there. For me, I'm a little bit more on the flexible side, so I'm going to take my leg back. It gives me a little post up, and then I'm going to let my head relax. If you want, you can use the yoga block to put your head on with this too. If that's more comfortable. I just like leaving it down on the ground just like this. And we're just going to breathe into this stretch. This one is going to be a straight up passive stretch because we're actually going to be getting into the active range of motion here after this. So I just want you breathing. You can play with the stretch if you need to. You can crawl your fingers up a little bit higher. That might change how the stretch feels. Really, I would rather the arm to be higher up, but still elbow bent than too low. Just keep breathing into that stretch. Like I said, your stretch doesn't have to look like mine. So if yours is more like this, that's completely fine. Still breathing, still breathing. So what I usually tell people with this, because I got it on my watch right now looking at the time. So I usually say 2 minutes or until your hand starts tingling. That's pretty much it. Rotating, got another about 30 seconds or so. relax out of that stretch. Whew, same thing. Like I said, if you're stretching long enough, you should feel almost stiff when you come out of the stretch. It takes a minute for those tissues to rebound back and to feel they're not stretching out. So, all right, let's switch sides. Throw this yoga block over here. All right, 90 degrees, coast it up on that opposite arm, kicking that leg over. Let's go big stretch right here. Now this is definitely a position that I can get more range of motion on my right side than my left side. Feels significantly different. Pay attention to those subtle differences. They might be kind of like a key to maybe you have a nagging issue or something feels worse. You got pain on one side and not the other. Well, that usually is our body telling us something that there's differences on one side than the other. And if you got something that's super tight on one side and not tight at all on the other, and that side that's super tight is the one that hurts, well, I mean, that might be part of the issue. I see that happen a lot. Just keep breathing, keep breathing. Got another about minute and 20 or so. Play with that stretch a little bit and like move your arm position some. I'm like rocking on that front of that shoulder a little bit. Got another about 20 seconds. This will be a position we come back to in the future and a little bit further along in the membership. And we're going to add actually going to do some pails and rails from this position that are pretty intense. But at first, we're just getting used to the stretches. We got to ease into this stuff, right? Especially if you're new to mobility work. Can't give it all to you at once. We got to build it up over time. And relax out of that stretch. All right. So most of the positions we're going to work through the active range today are going to be from laying on our stomach. So make sure you have enough space to get your arms out. I'm going to turn my setup just so that I can make sure I am still in frame. All right. So the first thing I want to do is going to be called axial rotations. So they're called axial rotations because you're rotating from the axis of the shoulder. So I want to do this just because we just grooved out some space in the internal rotation position. We just stretched out the external rotation position. So let's just groove those tissues out from that deeper level, and that's going to give us a better feeling when we start working through some other ranges of motion. So in this position here, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this mic off, and I'm going to put it right here just like this. I think that's going to be a lot better. So in this position, you don't want to lift up too high. So you want to make sure that you're keeping your core braced still, even though I'm laying on the ground. And we're going to have both hands here. And you can hover your head, or you can use a towel to brace against. I like just hovering my head. That way I have a little bit more activation of that whole upper back. So here, shoulder blades are staying down. We're going to lift the shoulders as much as you can. And we're going to think about guiding from the thumbs, rotating the thumbs down as far as we can, rotating from the shoulder. Hold there, and then rotate open as far as you can. Rotate down. Rotate open. We're going to do 5 reps. Rotate down. Really try to get that rotation happening in the shoulder joint. Rotate open. 3. Squeeze. Rotate down. Try to squeeze that range of motion as best you can. Keep those elbows straight. Rotate open. 4. Rotate down. Rotate open. 5. And down. There we go. All right. So you might notice one side might be a little more gritty than the other. That's fine. You might get some clicking, might get some popping. Hopefully not too much because we opened up that passive range of motion first. So a lot of times opening up that passive range of motion will help to mitigate all that crunching in the shoulder as we do it. What we're going to go through now is my favorite external rotation sequence for the shoulder. There's 2 different setups you can use. If you can't get your arm past 90 degrees, so if you're lifting here and you can't lift past 90 degrees, you're not going to use a yoga block. If you can lift past 90 degrees, you're going to put your elbow on a yoga block, okay? So the setup you use is depending on where your range of motion is. So I'm going to start on this left side since I'm already in this position. And we're going to go on this I'm going to use the yoga block, but remember, you don't have to use the yoga block. So right here, set this mic down right here. This is kind of hard to do when it's on your stomach. Sorry, I keep messing with this thing. All right, so same thing like we did with the scorpion setup. So elbow out, even with the shoulder. Head is actually going to stay down on this. So head is staying down. And then what we're going to do first is we're just activating that external rotation. So without our wrist moving, because that wrist moving is a lot of times a big compensation for external rotation, we are going to keep our wrist forward here. And then now from here, we're going to try to rotate from the back of the shoulder. And you're just going to lift that hand as high as you can. Make sure you're not shrugging your shoulders. Make sure your trap is not the one doing the work. You should really be feeling this in the back of the shoulder. And I just want you holding here for another 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. Let's go again. Lift. Squeeze. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We've got one more. Lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to do 3 reps of 30 seconds each one we do right here. Now the next one is we're going to externally rotate, and then I want you to lift off the yoga block or off the ground, lifting the elbow off. So I want you to lift off so slightly that you can still feel the ground or the yoga block underneath your elbow, because what we're trying to do here is prevent the elbow from going higher than the wrist. So what I mean by that is when I lift here and I barely lift my elbow off, I can still feel the skin of my elbow on the yoga block, but the weight of my arm is not on the yoga block. So that's what we're going for. So we're going to go head down. Rotation first, so we're lifting at the wrist. And I want you to get really light on the elbow. Hold right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. And again, wrist first, then elbow, hold.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. Again. Lift and lift. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And down.
All right, the last part of this sequence is probably one of the harder parts. So we're going to add a press to this. So what this is going to look like, we're going to lift the wrist, we're going to lift the elbow, and then you're going to think about pressing that arm up over top, keeping that tension. Then you're going to pull it back down and set it right back down in that opposite order. All right, let's get into it.
So we're going to go wrist lift first, then the elbow, and then press it out over top, keeping that wrist lifting as high as you can, all the way overhead. Hold it, pull back down, set it down, reverse order, then right back up again. 3 reps. Slight lift on the elbow, press overhead, pull back down, down, down. Last one, rotate, lift, press, pull it back down, and down.
Just like that. All right, switch sides. All right, I'm going to turn my mat so you can see on the other side too. So we'll give you a little breather for a second. All right. Good to go. All right, hope you guys can still hear me. Got the mic on the floor right here. So, same thing, same sequence on this other side here. And then we got a little finisher, and then you guys are done. All right. So, remember, starting off with those 3 external rotation lifts. And I cannot emphasize how important it is for you to really try to connect to the back of the shoulder here. The whole sequence is based around building that awareness and building the activation around the back of the shoulder. Because that is one of the biggest limitations that I see with people's shoulder mobility. All right.
Here, set it up. Wrist bent forward. Rotate. Hold right there. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down.
Might notice a little shake in there. That's my nervous system working.
All right, let's go again. Lift. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down soft. Last one, and lift. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down.
All right. Now we're going part 2. So wrist lift, light on the elbow.
All right, wrist lift, light on the elbow. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Set it down. Again, rotate, light on the elbow. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Down. Last one. Rotate, lift, hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And down.
Good. Take a breath for a second. Now we got our presses. Last part of the sequence, and we're getting to the finisher. All right, let's go.
Big lift. Light on the elbow. Let's press it out overhead. Nice and slow. Hold, pull it back in. Keep lifting that wrist. Light on the elbow. Down. 1. Rotate. Light. Press. Hold overhead. Hold. Pull back down. Keep lifting the wrists. Elbow soft and down. Last one. Wrist. Light on the elbow. Press. Hold overhead. Hold, 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 hold. Back down. Elbow soft and down. Whew. That's tough. Love it.
All right, let those shoulders shake out for a second. We have one more thing to do. So we are going to bring this guy back just a little bit. So we're going to go through full shoulder swimmers. If you know what a shoulder swimmer is, awesome. If you don't, awesome. So we're going to learn right now. So we want to make sure we feel the activation and the rotation through this entire range. And we're going to start with our hands on our head. So we're going to do 3 reps here around and back. But these 3 reps should be the hardest thing that you've done today. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put my microphone down on the ground just so I'm not laying on it. And I can maximize how much tension I'm creating by making sure my head's in the right position so I don't have to talk. So I'm here, and I'm going to start with my hands on my head overlapping. So from here, I'm going to think about lifting my elbows as high as I can. Hold right there. Now from this position, I'm going to lift my hands. If you feel your lower back kick in at all, I want you to squeeze your butt. So lift the hands, hinge at the elbows, all the way out. Rotate thumbs down and away, just like the cars. Big rotation all the way around as high as you can to the ceiling. And then hinge those hands behind the back. This will be more internal rotation right here. Let the elbows drop, feel that little stretch. And then squeeze the elbows together. Lift the hands off the back. Extend the elbows. Rotate all the way open. All the way up to the top. Hinge those hands behind the head. Set them down. That's 1 rep. We're going to go 2 more. Elbow lift. Lift the hands. Straighten them out. Thumbs down and away. Big rotation all the way around. Big rotation, high as you can. Hinge behind the back. And squeeze the elbows high. Lift. Extend. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Pull those shoulder blades down. All the way around to the top. Hands behind the head. Down. Let's go last one. Lift. Up. Extend. All the way around. All the way around. All the way around. Hinge. Let it relax. The more you squeeze, the harder it is. Squeeze the elbows high. Lift the hands. Extend. Rotate open. All the way around to the top. All the way around. Hinge behind the head. Set it down. Woo. And there you have it. You are officially done with the first shoulder class. If your shoulders are feeling like mine, they're tired. It worked. See you guys next class.